Love it. Well, guys, we've been in a series now for the last handful of weeks that's called Together, Following Jesus in Community. And here's really what we've been doing in the series, a little bit of a unique take. We've been taking some time to really look at what does it really look like to have a relationship with Jesus as an individual? Like, how do I follow Jesus? And how does that actually play out? I shared with a bunch of you guys that I didn't grow up in church and didn't grow up following Jesus, understanding what it looked like to have a relationship with Christ. So it took me a minute to kind of put the pieces together to understand that. And I wanted to try to boil it down and make it simple and accessible for us and try to understand how does this thing actually work, right? And so we've been taking some time to do that, to talk about how that works individually. Like if I want to know God, I want to have a relationship with Jesus, and I want to see kind of a change in my life and an impact in the world. All those things are connected together according to Jesus. And we looked at a verse over the last few weeks where Jesus would say, he said, I'm the vine, you're the branches, right? If you remain in me, then you're going to bear fruit. And apart from me, you can do nothing. So if I want to bear fruit, if I want to see my life change, and if I want to see my life make an impact, I need to stay connected to Jesus. I need to remain in him. Kind of the Bible word for this is to abide. And so we've been talking about what does it look like? What does it mean to abide? How do you actually do that? And so what we've been doing, there's a kind of a gazillion things that we could say about what that looks like and what that means. To try to make it simple, what we did is we boiled this thing down to what we're calling the big three. Okay, we're calling it the big three. And these are the big three things that we can do to simply live life with Jesus. This is what abiding is. Living my days and my moments with Jesus. This is what he wants us to do. He says, hey, remain in me. Walk with me. Have a relationship with me. Okay, how do I do that? Here's the big three. We walked through two of them already. Pastor Aaron, a few weeks ago, walked us through the first one, which was to bless others, right? Bless others. The reality is that if I'm going to walk with Jesus and live life with him, it's always going to end up changing and affecting the way that I see other people and the way that I love them, right? That's always going to be the case. I'm never going to be kind of remain unaltered in my interactions with others. So we talked a lot about that and what it looks like to individually bless other people, and even how we corporately kind of gather together as a church to bring blessing to other people into the world. Last week we talked about initiating prayer. Initiate prayer, and we said this is kind of the second one, that what's huge and what's really, really helpful is it's the doing of the prayer, right? It's the continual coming back and pulling the trigger and initiating prayer. Go to God over and over and over again. Whether I do that individually, just in my relationship with him, we do that as friends, as fellow followers of Jesus, or in a family, a spouse, or even with with family. Right? This act of initiating is a big deal. And so if you missed either of these two conversations, we kind of made this little acronym here, right? We got the B, we got the I, and last week I left you hanging and said there's a G. I know some of you lost sleep wondering, what's the G about? Some of you don't have a life, right? Now, I did get a text message or two that was like, what's the G for, right? So we're spelling big. Here's our big three. And so we're going to walk through this last one today, but here's the big three: bless others, initiate prayer. And the third one is this: get in the Bible. Get in the Bible. That's it. You're like, that was it? That was the G? I thought about that all week. Somebody literally sent me a picture in between services, and they wrote down 50 options of what the G could be. I was like, you've spent far too much time on this. This is a problem. So let's talk about this a little bit. We're going to talk about getting in the Bible, a little bit what this means, and let me show you where this all connects in John 15. We looked at this verse a little bit last week. Here's what Jesus would say in verse 7. He says, if you remain in me, and my words remain in you. Ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. So we're going to highlight this piece of it because this is such a loaded section of Scripture. And Jesus is going to say this, right? If you remain in me, if you live life with me, and if my words remain in you, right? They're in you. You want to get the truth of what I've spoken to you into your heart and your mind and your life. Kind of get the Bible in you. So we want to have a conversation about the Bible today. And I realize like some of us are here and you may have experienced or seen the Bible be deeply misused in your life or in the lives of other people. And that's the fact that has happened. We don't need to ignore that or pretend like that hasn't been true. The Bible at times has been used to manipulate or abuse or harm or control people. And so you say, Ryan, does that make the Bible bad? Obviously not. That's not where we're going to land. The Bible can be misused just like anything else, right? I need water. I need water to live, and I could use water to drown somebody, right? I need the thing to have sustenance for my life, and I could use it to harm someone. And the same is going to be true with the Bible. And here's the thing, is it's tricky. The Bible is tricky because it can be misused, and it can be misunderstood. And there's a lot of different ways that can happen, and we want to talk about a few of them today. And then we want to get down to the heart of what the Bible is actually for, and how it actually works in our lives. And I want to leave you with a few practical steps to be able to walk out of here and say, okay, if I'm going to get in the Bible, here's how I could do it, right? And I want to be able to walk away with that step. So that's where we're going. Let me say a few more things, though, about some of the kind of the misuses or the misunderstandings of the Bible. I remember when I ran like a brand new follower of Jesus, I was totally like a sponge, right? I was trying to understand, like, what does a Christ follower look like? And I wanted to do it for real. And so I was watching other followers of Jesus, and I was trying to learn from them. And I saw a lot of people interacting with the Bible in a lot of different ways. And sometimes this is what would happen. Some people would really kind of treat the Bible literally like this, like the book itself, almost like a good luck charm. Right? So like if I go to the interview and I take my Bible with me in the car, I might get that job. Right? This is like a way to, guys, this is not how the Bible works. You and I taking pieces of paper that are bound in a book and bringing it with us in a vehicle does not bring the blessing of God with you. Okay? If you're not surprised by that, we should talk some more. Okay? Some of you are like, I don't know, man. I feel like this is the thing. This is not how the Bible works. It's not made to be lucky. It doesn't bring us good luck. In fact, even if you were to take your time and say, I'm gonna put 10 minutes on the timer, and I'm just gonna run my eyes over the words for 10 minutes a day, and I think that's gonna make me have a better day, that would be a misunderstanding of how the Bible is used as well. It's not a good luck charm, right? Me carrying it around doesn't make me somehow, like bad stuff won't happen in my life because I have a book with me. It's not like just minutes spent mindlessly reading through it is going to cause me to have good luck or good fortune that day. None of that is how it is. And I saw that happen and kind of walked in that misunderstanding for a minute. And then here's what I realized, and this is the big thing I want to make sure you grab, okay? The Bible is not a good luck charm. It's not a weapon to beat people with. It's not even a routine that I gain favor with God by. None of that. Here's what it is. The Bible is relational. The Bible is relational. The Bible is God choosing to communicate his heart and his mind and his passion and his vision and his hopes and his interactions with me, he's making all of that known to me. And the value of the Bible is when I take the time to look at those words, to read them, to understand them. And here's the big deal, is it's in believing that the value comes. Make sense? Sounds simple, but it's bigger than that. Here's kind of how I think of it. We've got Jesus, right? And here's me and you. And then our path, we think about kind of like how our life is going to look. It's like all over the place, right? I want my life to just look like this beautiful straight line up and to the right? It's beautiful every day. It's sunshine. 0 days are like today, right? Where it's snowing. It's all wonderful. But this is kind of how it looks, if even in a best case scenario. And here's how it worked in my life. I didn't grow up in church. And it would be the beginning portion of my life when I didn't know Jesus at all. And eventually what happened is the Word of God came into my life. Okay? I heard the message about what Jesus did for me, that he laid down his life for me, that lived a perfect life, died an innocent death, rose from the dead, and wanted to exchange my imperfect life for his perfect one. And it would be at that moment that my relationship with Christ was formed, was started, that I was reborn, born again. And then I began from there to hear the Bible. I began to hear it taught. And it would become part of my journey as I began to understand how God interacts with us, that he wants to meet us in the midst of every moment of our lives, right? In the high, beautiful moments, right? The moments of victory and the moments of celebration, his words come to us, and he's looking to share and celebrate that with us. In the moments of the valley, right, where I'm in the low spot, where I've failed, where I've sinned, where I'm afraid, when I've blown it up, God's gonna speak to those moments. Right? Like a great parent. Some of us have to imagine this because our parents and our relationship with parents wasn't good. But like you can picture, what's a great parent-child relationship look like? Where a parent's going to look at a child and say, man, I want to be with you. I want to be with you in the high times. I want to be with you in the low moments. I'm going to walk with you when you skin your knee. I'm not always going to be excited about what you're doing, and sometimes I'm going to tell you that, but I'll never leave you and I'll never forsake you. I'm going to walk with you through it all. And this is what God is trying to do with us, is through the Bible, he is speaking to all the parts, the highs and the lows, the ugly, the shameful, you name it. And what he's doing, in essence, is he's creating this day by day, moment by moment relationship with us that can last all the way until we see him face to face. I think this is what it looks like, guys. And here's the thing. These words that God has spoken to us, he would tell us this, I'm telling you all of this, truths about who you are, that you're my child, truth about that you're forgiven. Let me just say that truth hits different here in the valley. Yeah, I'm forgiven. I'm at the mountaintop. I feel like I'm an awesome person. I'm a good person. I'm generally a good person, right? I'm a great person. That feels very, very different when I feel like I've bottomed my life out. I've wrecked it. And I need somebody to take care of this guilt. When I hear God say to me, I'll never leave you or forsake you, you're forgiven, that resonates differently in the middle of the valley. And it's in this relationship that I start to see God's heart for me, his relationship with me. And this this relationship looks like this. I cling to it, and it forms this connection, this suspension bridge that holds my life together and pulls me up towards God as I interact with his words over and over and over again. This is how it is. And guys, this has been so lost in the reality of how us followers of Jesus have interacted with the Bible that sometimes this just gets straight up missed. Sometimes, and I'm sure that you've interacted with followers of Jesus that have done this, that have made it about the knowledge of the Bible. There's a ton of stuff to know in here, a lot of information. And I can almost guarantee you that if I asked you, the vast majority of you would have a story of somebody who says they're a follower of Jesus and they know a lot about the Bible, a lot of information about the Bible. They can quote stuff to you. They know historical backgrounds. They might even read commentaries. But when it comes to their love for other people or even their humility, sometimes that's going to be lacking. Sometimes it becomes about learning the information, the data about what God said, about when he said it, about where it was, about the historical moment that it was. And what's really lost is the heart and the message of what was going on. Right? I've got 4 kids. Imagine if my kids were looking at my life and they wanted to study and know me, and they started grabbing lots of random information about my life. My dad in 1987 on February 2nd was at Coventry High School from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. My dad went and traveled to a place, XYZ. And then they have information about me. Well, what's your dad's heart for you? I have no idea, but I'll tell you all the information about my dad. My dad lost his hair in 2007. You can forget that factoid, by the way. Children, right? Knowing the information. Now listen, it's fine to know information and study a commentary and do Bible study if it's in this framework, if it's about loving Jesus and knowing him. But because I have a great memory, and because I can learn a bunch of information and spew it out to you, that doesn't mean that I have a relationship with Jesus. That doesn't mean that I'm living life with Jesus. Does that make sense? This is huge. I can study, and I like studying. I think it's all great, love it. But if that information doesn't drive this connection, where it's me hearing the heart and the mind of a person, of God, and how he sees me and how I see him, and him letting himself be known, and all of that showing up here where I'm interacting with him, talking back and listening back and looking at how that's going to show up in my interactions with real people, if that's not all blending together, then I'm not hearing the words of God right. See why this is a little bit tricky? We're talking about getting in the Bible. It sounds simple, but there's a lot of ways that we can err, and most of it is having the right framework of how to think about it. If I'm in the right ballpark, that this is about a relationship, then I'm thinking about it the right way, okay? Let me show you a few examples of what Jesus says about his own words here. They're mind-blowing. Here's a few of them. It says, he replied, "Blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it." He's gonna look and say, here's what the good life is. Here's the person to be congratulated. That's what blessed means. Congratulations to the one who hears my words and obeys them. Here's another one. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. I want you to hear this one verse. Jesus is matter-of-factly saying, hey, everything you see and know, it's all going away. Heaven and earth is going to pass away. But my words are eternal. They're going to last forever. By the way, if you're investigating Jesus today and you think he's a good teacher, solid dude, you can't hear this verse and not wonder, right? Because good teachers don't say things like this. They don't look and say, hey, the world's going to disappear and be destroyed, but my words are going to last forever. God says things like that. And he's going to look at us and he's going to say, hey, I want you to hear my voice, to cling to it. And we could literally spend the entirety of the day looking at different passages, different places in the Bible where God would talk about his word and how he interacts in our lives and wants to see our lives change. And overarchingly, here's what God is looking for. He's not looking necessarily for each of us to become an expert in the information. He's not looking for us to look and say, hey, I carried my Bible around as a good luck charm. I religiously did a thing every day thinking it would cause me to have a good day. Here's what he's looking for. He is looking for you and I to receive his words with faith. With faith. Do you believe this? Do you believe that you're forgiven because of what Jesus did on the cross? Do you believe that the Spirit of God is living inside of you? Like, that is a radical, and if you're new to it, it feels a little freaky. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Do I believe that? These are things Jesus would look and say, the earth is going to go away. My words won't go away. I want you to hear my heart and vision. I want you to know that I'm never going to go anywhere. I am committed to you. Do you believe that? Do you act on that? And the reality is I can know a whole lot more than I can act on. I can quote verses that I'm not even in the ballpark of living yet. So can you. Why this is such a big deal is if I'm going to get in the Bible, I want to make sure we're in this ballpark. That it's about hearing the word of God for the sake of relationship and the sake of believing. It's so I can actually act on what God has said as if that is pure concrete, that it is solid rock, solid foundation. In this phase of my life, man, I was longing to find something that I could build my life on. Some words that I knew wouldn't fail. And a bunch of you have experienced this. If you've trusted people and they've failed you, they said they were going to do something. And it's not like something came up and it was an accident. They just weren't trustworthy. Almost all of us have had that experience. Or we listen to our culture tell us, if you do X, Y, and Z, this is the good life, and you tried it, and you ran for it, and you did it, and you're like, I don't think this is what I'm looking for. I was longing to say, where do I land in such a place who I could listen to the voice of God and build my life there? I told a bunch of you guys, I didn't even believe in marriage until I became a follower of Jesus, because I thought, unless I see it built on a reliable source that I could build my life on, it doesn't make sense to me. I've never even seen it work. We go to the Bible because God has spoken, and his voice is trustworthy. When I think about, guys, this has messed me up so much. When I think about being a parent, I've made 1,000 mistakes as a parent. The one thing I wanted to get right with my kids, and it was all motivated by this reality, is I wanted them to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that what I said, they could trust and believe. If they could believe my voice, then I know that we could have relationship. Right? Doesn't mean they were always ready for all the information, right? All the things. But I wanted them to always know that if I said it, if I said I'm going to do it, or if I said this is what it is, then that's what it is. Why? Because that is what God, that is how God is a father to me. Even if everybody else failed, he never fails. His words are always good. Even if you're the only one left believing it, it's the place to land that is solid. And some of you are out there, man, and you have planted your foot on things that have caved over and over and over and over again. And you're like me, 20-some years ago, wondering, is there somewhere I can anchor? I can put all my weight on that. And no, it's not going to fail me. These words will never pass away. See why it's so much more than some information or a ritual or something I got to do, or God's going to be mad at me, I get a flat tire. It's crazy. It's crazy. It was always all about this. The passion of a God who moved towards us and continues to do it, fighting for relationship, even though we fail him deeply and greatly. Keep trusting my voice, hear my words, cling to them. If they're in you, you're going to bear fruit. So you say, Ryan, how do we do it? Because I want to make this as super simple as possible. The real answer is this. When it comes to getting in the Bible, I'm not sure how much it matters how you do it. If you're in this ballpark, there's lots of stuff you can do to interact with God's words and have it be a win. Right? So let me give you some examples. First of all, your Bible, the Bible that's available, is available to us 24/7 on here. All the translations, it literally reads it to you. Right? You literally can be like, play, and then just sit there. It's amazing, right? I mean, that's amazing. That wasn't always like that, right? For a long time, you only had one translation. You had to lug it around. I remember having CDs. Who remembers CDs, right? Some of you are old like me. Congratulations, right? I remember having CDs and putting the Bible in my car with a CD. That was fun, right? So you don't have to do that anymore. Now we've got if you don't have YouVersion, download that sucker, man. YouVersion, right? If you're like, hey, I'm new to this whole thing, where do I start? Download that thing on your phone, YouVersion. If you get super distracted by your phone, just eliminate the top 3 most distracting apps. Just get rid of them if you can. Delete them. And use your phone, right? Listen to the Bible. It counts, okay? If you're dyslexic and you struggle to read, this is good. It counts. It works. It's fine. Right? The old idea that you got to wake up at 5 in the morning and read 3.2 chapters of the Bible, or else you're a terrible Christian. You're going to hell. Right? That idea, I'm not sure where that came from. That worked for somebody, and they got really excited about it and said it a lot. So here's what you can do. You can listen to a few chapters, a chapter of the Bible at a time. You can read if you want. Right? You can read it and be like, hey, I just want to read a small portion. If you're just getting started, start in the book of John or Ephesians. Right? Start somewhere. One of the most powerful things you can do if you're just getting started is just take 1 or 2 verses. You can grab them from one of these books, especially this one, right? The first chapter of Ephesians, and just grab a verse or 2 and read it 3, 4, 10, 20, 30 times a day. Get it in you, right? This is what Jesus said. If my words remain in you, get the Bible in you. It's not about checking a box. It's about getting it in me, in my heart, in my mind, and how I see myself and see the world. I want to read. I want to listen. I want to meditate. That what I just described basically is meditation. Reading and thinking about, right? There's a biblical form of meditation. That's what it is. You're just basically fixing your mind on one truth over and over and over and over again. I would much rather you read one verse 100 times than read 100 verses one time and not think about it. Because the value isn't in the quantity. The value is getting it into my thinking and my seeing of how life works. Transforms, it's the renewing of my mind. Listen, meditate, read, memorize. Some of you are like, hey man, I'll try to memorize. It doesn't even matter if you can memorize it or not. The process of trying to memorize it will do this. Right? It can be a small portion, it can be a large portion. Some of you are super organized. You're like, I am a planner. I have a planner. I organize my day. I do my things. You should do the legit hardcore Bible reading plan. Right? That thing is like made for people like you. Right? Do that. It's awesome. Love it. If you want a simple reading plan, there's a gazillion of them on YouVersion. Plug them in there. You can find one. There's some for men. There's some for women. There's some for the New Testament. There's some for the Old Testament. I go all day. Right? There's all kinds of options. They're all out there. Everything you can name that you can struggle with. The key is we want to get in the Bible, get the Bible in us, keeping it relational. And here's the big deal. It's not about consuming it all in a day. It's about having God's voice show up all the time in my life, over and over and over and over and over and over. And as God's voice proves itself to be true, over and over and over and over and over, what happens is my faith will grow. Because I'm seeing God show up, and I'm watching his words prove true over and over and over again. Guys, this is where the power is. This is where the good stuff is. The Bible, interacting with the Bible, getting in the Bible is not some laborious thing that we have to gut through. It's simply an act that we need to prioritize, and you can play with different things. If you get bored easy, try all this stuff, right? You don't have to do it the same way. Make it a goal at some point. If you've never read through the whole Bible or listened through the whole Bible, eventually you're going to get there. If you're just starting off, though, start small. Hear me. Start small. A few verses. Does not have to be crazy. Chew on them. Revisit them. Make it your home screen. Read it every time you pick up your phone. Simple. Right? Simple. Little reminders that connect me back to the heart of God over and over and over again. And then how our communities work, we'll talk more about this, is that individually we do this throughout our week. When we go to school, when we go to work, when we're at home taking care of the kids, when we're in retirement doing our, right? I'm getting in the Bible, I'm initiating prayer, I'm blessing others, I'm doing that in my life, and then we gather back together and we share how God is working in these things. And we help each other to be supported and share ideas and stay on track. And the big three shows up in all of these communities because we do them individually and then we gather together and talk about how that worked in our lives. We try to live life with Jesus. This is the heart of the Bible. Let me just say, guys, I'm sorry if anybody ever Bible thumped you. I'm sorry if anybody ever manipulated you or tried to overpower you with the Bible. I'm sorry if the Bible was used as a weapon of pride in your life. And your interaction with them was just one big flex of Bible knowledge. And you thought, it seems like knowing Jesus looks like being a person filled with pride and information. None of those things are the heart and the reason why the Bible was given to be a light for my path, to help my heart to become more and more like the heart of Jesus. And it's all in relationship. And what God's looking for is my faith. Do you believe me? If you believe this is the Word of God, and I believe that, I'm probably going to have this show up in my thinking. I'm probably going to have this show up in my mind more and more. Because if that's true, I would be crazy to ignore it. Right? Again, it's not to earn anything. God's already taken care of all of that through Jesus. He's simply saying, this is how we interact. This is how you get to know my heart, my mind, my passion, my priorities. Because as you walk away today, I would just encourage you, what's one simple way you can fire up the Bible in your life? If it's for the very first time, start small. If you drifted from an interaction with the Bible, you used to know it, you used to be in it, and now you're not, Revelation would say, go back and do the things that you did at first. Even as a pastor, I had to do that before. Go back and pursue knowing God the way you did in those first years. I've had to do some of that. You guys, if you interact with the Bible and you walk away from Bible conversations or interactions at church and your response is, I didn't get enough information, I just want you to hear me. You're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Because the Bible scholar, literally, that comes to our church, who's got a PhD and writes books, walks away from these conversations and he walks away and says, I hear the voice of Jesus. I don't need more information. I need to let the words of God transform me. And that can happen in the life of a 6-year-old. That can happen in the life of somebody who can't read, who has no access to all of the commentaries and resources we do, because God's making his voice available to all of us. Right? If I can hear the words of God, I can believe them, I can respond to them by faith. Put it into action. I want to chase it down even this week. As the band comes out, would you bow your heads with me and close your eyes? We're going to sing and worship and respond how God's working in us today. Lord, thank you. Thank you for being the one voice that is always trustworthy, that never fails. Lord, you always tell the truth. Thank you for speaking to us, for helping us to know your heart and passion. Thank you for moving towards us, Lord, when we failed you so badly. And I pray, God, for myself and for everybody who can hear my voice right now, that you would put within us a burning passion to know you, to hear your words, and then to act on them, to do them, to believe them. God, would you cause us to be a people that are struck by how profound it is that you've spoken, that find great, great joy in our relationship with you. Help us with this, Lord, today, even this week, as we pursue you with our hearts, mind, and soul. Meet us here, even now.